Hello everyone, welcome to another ODNT Spotlight. My name is Steve DeWinter, your host, and we have with us another wonderful, exciting author. Her name is Nancy M. Bell, and she's bringing us several different books. We'll definitely talk about some of these. She has a contemporary romance series that takes place in Longview, Alberta, Canada, and it starts with Storm's Refuge, and then she also has a Christmas story, A Longview Christmas, and I love it anytime they do these themed holiday stories. Those end up being some of the most fun stories that authors always do, so that's a lot of fun that she's done that. She also has a young adult adventure series, the Cornwall Adventure series, and it tells of Celtic myths, creatures, and the ley lines, the earth energy lines, so definitely want to talk to her about that because those sound very interesting. And then she also has another series that she's doing. She's not just sticking with any one series. She also has another series, Arabelle's Secret, Book 1, The Selkie's Song. And we can definitely talk to her about that and how she came about that. And then, not just sticking with young adult adventure or romance, she also has her very own twist on the Jack the Ripper fable. And so it's a very historical fiction that also takes place in London, in Whitechapel. And it definitely catches the imagination of everyone. So it'd be fun to talk to her also about that. So let's go ahead and head on over and meet Nancy. Nancy, welcome to ODNT, where we get to shine the spotlight on you.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So tell me a little bit about your writing. How did you start getting into writing?
Well, I've actually been writing since I was in grade school. I actually have this big tome that I wrote when I was in like grade 7 or 8.
Oh, wow.
It's really bad.
It was great at the time.
It was great at the time, but yeah, it's really bad. But I was working full time, and I have horses, and I was riding 3 different horses, and I had a wreck with one of my horses. And so that kind of paid to a whole bunch of stuff, so I was laid up for a long time, and I had nothing better to do.
Oh, no.
So I started reading, and I started researching on a bunch of stuff that I hadn't had time to do before. And Laurel's Quest grew out of that, kind of from the research and different things that I did, and her story just kind of presented itself to me, and I started writing, and the research on that one took me over a year to do all the research on that one. But I met some really awesome people. I met a bunch of people in Cornwall over the internet, and I've actually gone to Cornwall and got to visit with them and gone to a bunch of the places that are actually in the book.
Oh, excellent. So you got to research Cornwall for your young adult series, and you're researching Celtic myths?
Yeah, because Cornwall and Brittany and Wales are really Celtic more than British still. And, of course, there's all the King Arthur legends at Tintagel, which is in northern Cornwall.
Oh, so King Arthur is a Cornwall legend, not a London, England that we think of England today.
No, Tintagel is in northern Cornwall.
Oh, neat. Did not know that.
Yeah. So my book takes place in the very south of Cornwall near Penzance. And through Land's End and Carnley Bowl is an old hill fort, and it's actually there's nothing there. It's on the edge of the cliff, out on the moors, and it's probably about a 20-minute walk from the road. And it's actually where the Earth energy lines come into England from France.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and there's actually a node, a place where there's a female line and a male line, or a negative, positive line, however you want to.
So which is the negative one, us guys?
No, actually, no.
It's a very male society that created this concept.
Yes, the Michael line is the positive energy line, and the Mary line is the negative or female line.
It's the inverse. It's not
inverse.
Positive, negative like good and bad. It's the positive, negative like electricity of one and the other.
And that's exactly what it's like. It's like telluric energy, earth energy. And quite interestingly, the Michael line tends to go to high places, like hilltops and tors, and the Mary line tends to stay into the lower areas and is attracted to water.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of healing springs and sacred wells that are on the Mary line, and a lot of the uh, old churches and they were built on old sacred sites. You know, Christians kind of stole from the pagans that way,
Right.
like
It's like,
they
haha, we win.
win, yeah. And people were used to worshiping there, so they just built their churches on top of it because it made the transition easier for the locals. So there's a lot of St. Michael's Church, St. Michael's whatever, and they are most of them are on the Michael Energy line as it goes across southwest England. So it goes from Carnley Bowl and it goes across, and it hits a bunch of different places that Laurel has to go to in her quest, and it leaves England at Hopton St Mary's in East Anglia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's John Michel actually rediscovered the lines because I mean they've been there forever. You can't say he discovered them. He
Right.
rediscovered them in the 70s, and that sort of brought a whole new focus to them. And there's a lot of people now that are into dowsing. Do you know
Right,
what
that's where
dowsing
the
is?
stick in the water.
That's
The
the traditional.
layman's, those of us who don't know.
Yeah, that's what everybody associates it with, the hazel twigs with looking for water. But you can actually look for anything if as long as you're very clear on what you're looking for. So you can look for earth energy lines. You can look for water pipes under the ground, any kind of thing.
But it won't help me find my keys.
It can.
Oh, hey,
If
excellent.
you if you have your little dowsing rod or whatever you use, and you are very very clear about what you want to find, people who are good at it can do that. I'm not quite that good.
I see the next big internet product. Find your
Yes,
keys
find
without
your
clapping
keys.
your hands.
But it's actually a lot of fun. Dowsing is. It's just it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot
Excellent.
of practice.
And so this was all your research for your young adult series.
It was.
For that, so tell us a little bit about that series. What is that series about?
Well, it starts with a little girl called Laurel Rowan, and a lot of the names I took from the Celtic Triome, which is like a divination system. And so you'll find in Cornwall and Ireland and Scotland, and actually I think in Brittany too, marks on the edges of standing stones.
Uh huh.
So it's divided into 5 separate things, and the marks will either go to the left of the upright vertical plane, or to the right, or straight across, or on an angle. And each one is associated with a different letter, and it's associated with a different tree. And each tree has its own meaning. So Laurel's friend that she meets, the first guy she meets in Cornwall, the first friend, his name is Paul, which is Coll, which stands for hazel, which is wisdom.
Ah, okay.
And the other sort of guy in the foursome, his name is Gort, and that means ivy, which is search herself. And he is very much that his journey. He's kind of my downtrodden character in the book. He's an orphan, and he lives with his uncle, much against his will, because his uncle is not very nice to him. And so he stutters, and he's got all kinds of issues because of this.
And he's trying to
And
find
so,
himself.
yeah, and so the second book in the series, The A Step Beyond, is actually his story of finding his way out, kind of out of that, and gaining confidence and learning that he's okay as he is. So that was
Accepting
kind of,
himself, right?
yeah, and that's
We
kind of
are
where
who we are.
we are who we are, and that's where the second book came from. So in Laurel's book, she's a little girl lives out on a ranch near Pincher Creek, Alberta, which is down in the south of Alberta.
Uh huh.
It's about 3 or 4 hours south of where I am. And it's ranch country. It's beautiful country down there. And her mom has cancer, and so she ends up in the hospital in Calgary, and her dad can't, go be in 2 places at once, obviously. And they had already made arrangements that she was going to go to Cornwall in the summer to visit a friend of her grandmother's.
Ah.
So they just send her early,
Just ships her off.
ships her off to Cornwall, and she's not very happy about it. She's not happy.
Right.
So on the train from London to Cornwall, down to Penzance, she meets Call on the train, and that's kind of how everything gets together. And he knows the lady that she's going to stay with, and she's a bit of she has a reputation of being a bit of a hedge witch, kind of like the wise woman, you know.
Right.
And Sari, her name is Sari. Sari is Call's grandmother's best friend,
Ah.
and through him she meets Gort and Ashleen, which is kind of a really cool Irish name. And
Yes,
so
I like that one.
I wanted to use it because it's spelled Aisling.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool. So I wanted to use that name. It really didn't have anything to do with the tree Olm at all, but I really liked that name, so I used it. So they kind of meet, and there's a bully at school because you got to have the bully, right? You have to have some sort of
Gotta have your villain.
yeah, you got to have the villain besides Uncle Daniel.
Right. He's just mean.
Yeah, he's just he's a drunk. So anyways, they kind of go through this deal with the bully at school, and of course the bully at school, his dad is the town constable, just to make things, you know, more interesting.
Of course.
And so Laurel's really not happy about any of this, and she goes off. Sari lives outside of Marazion, which is a little village right beside Penzance, and she has fell ponies, which are black sturdy ponies. Queen Elizabeth, you often see her on a big heavy little black pony. That's a fell pony.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
So anyways, she is on this little farm and she's not happy about it, and she is annoyed, and she wanders out into the pony field, and there's a gully in the pony field, and so Sari wants her to help her do something, and she doesn't want to do it. So she goes and she's going to go hide in the field because she's annoyed. And she kind of gets lost a little bit, and she finds herself at this spring. There's like a little pool and water coming down, and very, you know, England, Penzance and Cornwall is very almost tropical. Like there's palm trees and all kinds of stuff there.
Oh, wow.
So it's very almost rainforest-ish.
Wow. We always think of England as just like cold and foggy.
No.
There's more to England than London.
Yes, there's more to England than London. Penzance is actually a 6-hour train ride south of London. And
So
their trains are fast.
Whole
They're
different
awesome.
area.
Yeah. So it's kind of rainforesty, but not West Coast rainforest. More almost tropically rainforest.
Wow.
Anyways, she's at this pool, and it's all, you know, dripping in water and ferns and stuff.
Lush and green.
And she's crying because she's upset over her mom. And the white lady that is the familiar of the spring appears to her to comfort her. And so she makes a deal with this spirit of the land. She's like, she's an aspect of the earth goddess, of Gaia, whatever, however, you know,
whatever name you
people.
want to use for it.
Yeah, exactly. So she's an aspect of that. So she tells her, well, I can't promise you anything, but if you can solve this riddle that you'll get a piece at a time, you will have a chance to maybe save your mom or to heal your mom. So she, of course, grabs it with both hands.
Of course.
And she gets her 3 new friends to agree to help her, and they do a little blood pact and the whole thing. And I took a little bit of grief over the blood pact from a few of my beta readers because, oh, they didn't do this, and oh, they didn't do that. And I'm like, it's a story.
This is fiction, people.
Cut me some slack here. You know, and I mean, I'm old enough that I can remember when we were kids, you know, and you watch, I don't know what we watched, some Western or something, you know, and you had to like cut your thumb and Blood Brothers and all that.
Cut your hand, shake the
Yeah,
hand.
like, I mean, none of us died from it.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, I left that in. So I used a lot of the festivals that are still in place in Cornwall. So on May 1st in a little town called Padstow, it's called the Hobby Horse Festival. And it's ancient. It's from pagan times. And it's to celebrate the coming of spring. Because May 1st is Beltania, which is May Day. I mean, it's celebrated in different cultures, different ways. But this hobby horse, it's dressed up all in white, and it's got like a big hoof and a big ugly head, and it's really kind of spooky looking. But he parades through the town, and everybody in the town, it's like people come from all over the place, and they sing this song Summer, I can't remember what it's called now. Summers are coming in and winter has gone away. Oh, and it's quite upbeat. And then at a signal, because there's drummers going with him, the hobby horse will lay down and it's like he's died.
Uh-huh.
And then the song becomes almost a dirge. And then he's reborn. So it's kind of like the cycle of the seasons. And
right.
So and the hobby horse is obviously a guy, but he can't talk. Like, he doesn't talk. So Laurel actually sort of connects with the spirit behind the hobby horse, and it gives her first clue.
Oh.
She gets her clue there, and then they have to figure out what it is. And then she goes on and she gets a clue at St. Michael's Mount, which is another place where the Earth energy lines cross, and she meets one of the last giant of Cornwall, whose name was Cormoran. So she doesn't know who he is, but they meet this old man, and he gives her another clue. And then they end up at the Cheese Ring, which is up on Bodmin Moor. It's a big, if you Google it, it's pretty cool. It's a big pile of circular, smooth rocks. And there's all kinds of, some people say it's natural, some people say it's not. And it's, one of those.
Aliens.
Yeah, believe what you believe. There's actually a legend behind it that Uther was king of the giants, and a missionary or a monk called Saint Tu decided that they would have this contest, and if Uther won, then the monks would have to leave the giants alone and let them live in peace. And if Saint Tu won, then the giants lose, they get crushed, and
they're all dead.
Yes, they get,
so
whatever.
The stakes are high.
Stakes are high, so they start pitching these stones. And of course, Uther's a giant, so he's huge, and the monk is not. But of course, they pitch the stones, and they have to land on top of each other, and it gets taller and taller, and the stones get bigger, and so of course, in the end, God intervenes, and Saint Tu wins, even though, technically he shouldn't. And so that's one of the legends of how the Cheese Ring was formed.
Ah.
And why there are no giants in Cornwall anymore.
And why they're gone.
Yes. So it's kind of interesting, all the little folklore and stuff that you turn up as you go. And then she ends up at Glastonbury Tour on the summer solstice. And there's a big thunderstorm because it always seems to rain at summer solstice.
It's like, congratulations, summer's here. Time to rain.
And they have a big folk festival or some sort of musical festival down the road from Glastonbury every summer solstice, and it always rains. It's like Woodstock in the mud. So anyway, they're on the tour, and there's this big thunderstorm, and she rolls down the hill and it's a steep hill. I climbed it; it's really steep. But she rolls down the hill and gets lost, and she actually ends up in another dimension, and she meets one of the monks who lived in Glastonbury Abbey when it was not a ruin.
Wow.
And I read by, what's his name? Frederick Bly something. And he wrote a book called The Gates of Remembrance. And in the early 1900s, him and a friend of his, a colleague of his, did automatic writing at Glastonbury, trying to connect with the spirits of the past, because they wanted to find what was at there, because a lot of it had been knocked down, a lot of it was covered over with dirt and stuff, and so that's how they actually found St. Edward's Chapel, was through this automatic writing.
Interesting.
So within this book, there was this monk who came talk to them. His name was Johann Glastonbury, and he was heavy, and he told this tale through this automatic writing about how the bishop, I think it's a bishop, was, mean to him, and basically all you fat people have to sleep upstairs because climbing the stairs is good for you, and this kind of thing.
We're thinking of your health.
Yeah, we're thinking of your health. And so I worked that into the story, because this Johann loved to walk through the mere and through the marshes and talk to the ducks and feed the whatever. So I made him, that's who she met. And he feeds a little duck, and it's just kind of cute. But he gives her another clue, and he tells her that she will need to come back to Glastonbury, but not now. So she has to go off and continue on her quest. And eventually she ends up, she has to crawl through the Menentoll, which is actually quite near Penzance. And it's an old earth fort, maybe, they're not sure what it is, but all that's left is a whole stone that you can crawl through. And on either side of it, two short upright stones, which are called menhirs, which is standing stone in Cornish. So she has to go there at moonrise of the full moon, and she has to climb through the hole 9 times. And there's all kinds of legends about it. If you crawl through the hole 9 times at moonrise, you can enter the barrow world or the fairy world, or you can be cured of rickets, there's all kinds of
a whole bunch of things.
legends. So she crawls through the hole 9 times, and she crawls through the 8th time, and she's like, oh, nothing's happening. And she's decided that it's too dangerous, that she doesn't want her friends to come with her. She's going to try and, whatever happens, she wants to do it on her own. But they don't let her. They, of course, as soon as something starts to happen, they grab onto her. So they end up in the sky on the star path, because there's all kinds of, if you read shamanic stuff and different things about journeying, there's star paths and moon paths, and you can journey on the star path. So they are there, and the crystal horses, who are, there's legends they dwell in the crystal caves under Glastonbury Tor, and that's where Arthur waits until Britain has his greatest need. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so these crystal horses and crystal knights appear, and they take them to Glastonbury Tor, and they enter the Tor through. She has a talisman that she got from a Selkie, who, I totally missed that part of the story, but she has a talisman she got from a Selkie, who was actually her grandfather. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! Oh,
spoiler alert! Sorry. And so they go in, journey inside the Tor, and they meet with Gwen ap Neith, who is the leader of the Wild Hunt. And so on Samhain, which is Halloween, every year he takes his Wild Hunt, and they go collect all the souls from the world that need to move to the next level. But he's also in many things depicted as not a very nice guy. He's king of the fairies, but he's like evil, and it depends on which side of Christianity or organized religion you come down on, how you view Gwyn ap Neith. His name means light son of dark.
So they're not even sure with the name which side he falls on. He's both.
No, he's both sides, right? He's like, wherever there's light, there's dark. Wherever there's dark, there's light. There has to be. So he's that nebulous in between creature. So he plays the bad guy in this, and then the Earth Mother shows up, and then Cernunnos, who is the stag god, shows up and puts his hoof down, and in the end, Laurel's mom is really, really sick in Alberta, but her spirit travels to the Tor because Laurel makes a really, really bad deal for herself.
Uh-oh.
And it's not going to end well at all. And so her mother's spirit shows up and like, no, this is not happening. And so in the end, Cernunnos decides, because both of them are willing to sacrifice themselves for the other, that everything's going to be cool.
Right.
And that's kind of the end of the first book.
All that is in the first book?
That's the first book.
And there's still 2 more books in this series.
Still 2 books, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Arabella's Secret series is actually the story of Laurel's grandmother, and what happens with her is kind of what sets everything in motion for the Laurel series. Because I had a lot of people say, well, how did Arabella ever meet Virdu, which is a Selkie? And Virdu means large black or great black. And a Selkie is a creature, can be male or female, that can shapeshift from a seal to a man.
Oh, okay.
Or a woman. And there's all kinds of legends about that, where if you can get the Selkie's pelt, you can keep him or her from changing back. So you basically, imprison them and keep them, because people tended to fall in love with them and didn't want them to leave. And so
selfish.
It is, yeah. So Arabella's Secret, the Selkie song, is the story of when she first met the Selkie Virdu, and there's a Cornish Piskie named Gwynsgawen, which means white elder. and Uncle Daniel, the evil one from Laurel's Quest, is around, and he's eviler than ever. And you gotta have a bad guy, right?
Of course, of course.
So, and it kind of deals with everything that kind of happened between her and Daniel, and her and Virdu, and Sari. Sari is her friend. They're like teenagers. Sari's her friend. They get in all kinds of trouble, but she ends up she gets shipped off to Canada as a mail order bride.
Uh-huh.
And so in the middle of this, Virdu ends up getting injured, and his Selkie family or community sings to him to heal him, and that's where the Selkie song comes in.
Ah, yes.
And then as she's kind of sailing away, she sails from Liverpool, and as she's kind of going past Land's End, and kind of this is the last she's going to see of England and Cornwall, she figures, for the rest of her life, the Selkies sing to her as she's leaving, and that's the end of the first book. And then she's going to, come to Canada and travel across and meet in person this rancher who she marries, because, that was the deal that was made. And so it's kind of the backstory.
So it's more like a prequel to the Cornwall Adventures. So your Arabella's Secret series is going to be a prequel.
Yeah.
Would you suggest people who wanted to read your Cornwall Adventures now that they read Selkie's Song first as a prequel?
You don't need to. Laurel, the books kind of will explain themselves and stand alone. You don't need the backstory. It's just kind of interesting to find out all the intricacies and how it happened.
It's something neat to see, but it's not necessary for the enjoyment of the Cornwall Adventures.
No, you don't. Not at all. Not at all. But yeah, it was all the research I did for the first book really helped, because I didn't have to do it again for the other books. I could just kind of pull, or I'd like, oh, where did I read that I want to use? So you had to go find it again. But
and it sounds like you did a lot of research. You mentioned you did a year of research.
Oh, easy.
And you barely scratched the surface, I guess.
Oh, it's amazing, all the stuff that's out there. And there was a book I was looking for called The Sun and the Serpent by Hamish Miller and Paul Devereaux, and they actually walked from Carnival all the way across England to East Anglia, following the line.
Wow.
And they got as far as Avebury the first time, following the Michael line, and suddenly realized that, oh crap, there is another energy line here, and it's feminine. So they went all the way back to Carnival, which is a fair piece, because Avebury is up by Glastonbury. It's in Somerset. So they went all the way back and found the female line there, and then followed both of them all the way across. So it's a really, really interesting book.
And they find that they're bumping into all these important old places that are right on this line.
Yeah, it's a good book, and it's well written. It's not hard to read. Like some of the books you're like plowing your way through them, but it's easy, and it's a good book to read. And Hamish has quite the sense of humor, so
that always helps.
It does help. But I emailed the publisher, going, where can I get this book? And Hamish emailed me back.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we kind of got developed an online relationship, and he actually died about 3 years ago now on Robbie Burns Day, which was quite fitting because he's Scottish. Living in Penzance. But
he planned that one well.
Yes, he did. But yeah, it was really interesting, and through him, I made a lot of friends in Cornwall that I actually got to visit with. So it was pretty cool.
And so you're doing a lot of your research and setting your stories a lot in England and the northern parts and the southern parts, and everything. That has a lot of fascination for you?
It does, and I'm not sure why. It's like, I don't know, it's a race memory maybe. No, it's another lifetime. I'm not sure.
Exactly. You're remembering something. You were there.
Well, it's almost like going home when I go there, which is quite interesting. But yeah, but the romance series is set in Alberta here in Longview, which is not very far from. It's I don't know, probably an hour and a half south of where I am.
Right, your contemporary romance series, your
Yeah.
Longview series.
Yeah.
And you've got a second book coming out. So Storm's Refuge is already out,
Yes.
and you've got your Christmas story out, a Longview Christmas.
Yeah, it just released.
Yeah,
And
so and you've got
currently
another book coming soon. It looks like Come Hell or High Water.
Yes, and it continues the story of the couple in Storm's Refuge. He's a vet and he's new to the area, and the heroine is Michelle, and she really isn't impressed that this new vet's coming in, and he's taking, because the old vet, she calls him Doc. He's kind of like her father figure because her father died when she was quite young. So Doc is kind of her father figure, and she really resents this young, fancy horse vet from Calgary.
This young buck coming in, messing everything up.
Well, and he deals with them fancy jumper horses and the dressage queens, and she's like the Western girl, and like, this is all a bunch of nonsense. And but anyways,
fancy
he's
schmancy
actually,
yoo-ha.
yeah, exactly. And Doc's wife Mary is quite the matchmaker. And Longview is this little town, right? So there's all kinds of gossip and matchmaking, and so she gets her paws in there and stirs things up a bit.
She's got nothing else to do.
Yeah, and the dog is named Storm.
Ah.
And Storm is the catalyst that kind of brings the vet and the ranch girl together. And Storm is actually, I work with dog rescue. And Storm is actually just a conglomerate of a lot of dogs that I've known, but her main inspiration was a black dog that looks very much like the dog on the cover that we didn't get in time, who didn't make it.
Oh.
And so I wanted to sort of honor her.
Immortalize her.
And I gave her a good ending this time.
Oh, good.
I gave her a happy ending. So yeah, and she's in the second book as well. Storm is in the second book as well, and her puppy. She has puppies. When Michelle finds her in the first book under the porch in a snowstorm, she's pregnant. And so they get homes for all the puppies except one, and they call it Crazy Puppy because he's an idiot. He does stupid things, and he's a crazy puppy, right? So that's his name. And it's going to be the Calgary Stampede Chuck Wagon Races will be in the second book. And,
nice.
That's where the hell comes from because they call it the half a mile of hell.
Oh.
And
not Calgary an easy race, I take it.
Oh, no. It's like four wagons are in a heat, and you start in the infield, and the horn blows, and there's an outrider holding the head of the lead team, and then there's two guys at the back who are outriders who used to be a stove, like a real stove, but now it's just a fake stove that they hurl in. And then there's barrels set up, and each wagon has to drive a figure eight around the barrels, and the outriders have to get on their horses and ride the same pattern, and then they run around the track.
Wow.
So it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
That sounds like that's going to be an exciting sequence in your book, too.
Yeah, it is. And then Calgary had a flood back in 2013, like downtown Calgary flooded.
Oh, no.
They're still fixing things from it. Like it was, the Bow River just kind of took over the downtown and wiped out people's houses and flooded the reserve south of town here, and High River was floating. So that's where the high water comes from.
Aha. So there's a little bit of your history of your town that you're in this next story.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that people can relate to that are sort of local for sure. For sure. And I have a friend, we used to do, years ago now, we used to do statistics for a junior A hockey team in Olds, which is just north of here. And one of the boys who played on that team is now a chuck wagon driver.
Ah.
So I'm picking his brains.
Excellent. To get all the details, get them all right.
I needed to know stuff like, how do you pay your outriders?
Oh, yeah.
Because, the chuck wagon driver is responsible for his horses, and he's got, like, each team has 4 horses in it, but you have to have at least probably at least 12 horses that you're going down the road with. And then you've got your wagon, and then you have these 3 outriders. And I'm like, well, do they travel with you? Do they not? How do you pay them? Do they get a salary, or do they get a cut of the winnings, or because I want to make it real. And my heroine's motivation for going to ride as an outrider, which there's only ever been like 1 or 2 female outriders, so that'll be
breaking new ground.
It's usually crazy men, young men.
But there's some crazy women out there.
There are. There definitely are. Her motivation is going to be she's going to do it for the money, because she needs the money, because she's a barrel racer, and her horse is going to get hurt here pretty quick. I'm just writing that part now.
Aha, excellent.
And so she's trying to make it to the finals, but the horse is going to get hurt. Her good horse is going to get hurt, not badly, but enough that she can't ride it for a few months. So she needs some money, because she wants to get another horse, and she's got some other things, and so she's gonna, and plus she wants to go be an outrider at the Calgary Stampede. I mean,
so cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, and the Stampede's like the big show, right? Like besides Calgary Canadian Finals Rodeo in November and the national finals in Vegas in December, it's like Calgary's a big deal. It's like Cheyenne in the States. Cheyenne's another big rodeo, but it's kind of like the big time, the show.
That's the big show.
Yeah,
that's where they're real cowboys.
Well, there's real cowboys all over the place, but that's where the top real cowboys go. So that's all kind of all the Western stuff that and then she has an ex fiance who he's an idiot. He's they were childhood sweethearts, and then he dumped her and ran off and married a dressage queen, which really annoyed her.
Oh no.
Yeah.
More of the foo-foo horsey stuff.
I know. I used to ride dressage too, so I can say that without really offending anyone, because I used to do it too. So, but he can't get it through his head that even though he's married, that she should have a love interest besides him.
Ah.
So there's some conflict there between
it's like,
him
but
and
you
her,
married someone else, and
yeah, exactly. He can't get it through his head, and the vet is not 100% sure that she's really over him, because her flaw is that she every time that this ex gets in trouble, he calls her, because the girl he's married to is like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you got yourself into this. Get yourself out."
Yeah, and Michelle, because she grew up with him and hero worshipped him when they were kids, and she has a hard time saying, "Suck it up, princess."
Right.
So she gets herself in trouble bailing him out.
Man.
So that's kind of her flaw in it, and that's kind of what I use to create tension. Because you got to have tension, right? You
Always.
Can't have the big oh at the end if you don't have the tension.
Exactly.
So that's kind of where that's coming from, and there's dogs and horses. In most of my books, there's animals, usually dogs and horses.
Excellent. Except I'm assuming the one where you break from your normal writing that you did, your own twisted.
Oh yes, my Jack.
Your Jack.
There is a puppy in that one.
Ah, hopefully it lives.
It does.
Oh,
it does. He's not allowed to hurt the animals. He's killing women. He can't hurt the animals. But I didn't want people to like my character when I wrote that book, because obviously he's not likable.
Right, he's a bad dude.
Crazy man. But at some point, I wanted them to feel sorry for him on some level. So I gave him a really crazy evangelical father. And that's where a lot of his motivation to kill these women, that's where I give it to him from, because he believes he's cleansing them. And his father's dead, but his father's ghost haunts him.
Nah, so he's seeing things.
And his mother, I don't know how familiar you are with the Jack kind of deal, But the last woman he murdered was younger than the other women and very pretty and red-haired. She was Irish. Her name was Mary Kelly. And so I wanted to find something that would explain why he was so violent with her, like more so than the other ones. Way, way more.
It's like, were the others just a smokescreen for the one he really wanted to kill?
Well, what I did was I made his mother have the same name, and she was Irish, with long red hair. And when he was, I can't remember how old I made him, probably about 7 or 8, his father murdered her in front of him and cut her up and fed her into the fire, which is basically what he did with this last woman.
Wow.
So I kind of built things up all through the telling of the rest of the tale sort of to that. And I gave him a very reluctant, on his part, love interest, kind of. Because the crimes were very sexual, in a violent sort of way, because, I mean, he was removing sexual organs.
Right.
So there was that element to it. And so I had him be a butcher, because there's all the, he was a doctor, he was a this, he was a whatever. And then there's the other side of it where he was a laborer, he worked on the cattle boat. Due to the timing, they thought that he might actually be riding the cattle boats to America and back. In between
which is why there were the big gaps between, and then a flurry, and then another gap.
Yeah, and then there's also evidence that similar crimes occurred in New York, around the docks.
Ah.
So I used that. So I made him. He rode the cattle boats, but in between, he was also worked as a slaughterman at a butcher shop in Whitechapel. So I kind of used both of that, because originally I actually started writing the story with another author, and my Jack was much nicer. He was like he was still crazy, but he was an accountant, and he had that veneer of
a gentleman,
normality to him.
Right.
And she wrote a shop owner, a woman shop owner, and we kind of played them off each other, but that fell apart. And I let it sit for a long time, because it wasn't something I normally write, but it wouldn't let me alone. And I have to finish it because he's driving me crazy.
That's so sad. It's a departure from what you normally write, but Jack the Ripper was haunting you.
He was. Well, I think just because it was unfinished, and it was driving me nuts because it wasn't finished. So I started writing it again, and I changed him. So I made him much more visceral and much more earthy, and it actually worked way better, I think. Anyway,
yeah.
I think it worked better. And he lived in Whitechapel in a rented room, and he had his father, and because he's a butcher, he's got the whole plethora of knives and cleavers and the whole bit.
And he knows how to use them.
He knows how to use them, and he has his father's knife, which is the special knife.
Ah, that he saved for the redhead. Aha.
Yeah. So I followed the historical chain of events as far as who got killed and when they got killed and where they got killed, and sort of some of the stuff around it, like the one lady, I think the second woman he killed in Bucks Row, a carter with a pony found her, and the thought is that maybe he was still there when the carter showed up and flipped out through the shadows.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I used that, and I found online some maps of Whitechapel from 1880. I think they're from 1885 to 1899 or something.
Uh-huh.
So I have these maps, and I've got little stickers all over them, like this one got killed here, this one got killed there, and then I've got tracings on it, like how he could have got through all the back alleys and cut.
How he could have escaped.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny, because I had them spread out all over the place when I was writing it, trying to get them where I needed them to be.
And that just sounds like fun, all that type of research. That's the best part I like of writing, is doing any kind of research for stuff.
Yeah.
To get something that's real and pull it in and twist it for your fiction, so that it is a sense of realism to it, but also it's a whole made up story, but there's elements that you go,
Exactly. And I had I go to a conference in Surrey every year, in Surrey, British Columbia, and Michael Slade was there, and he's a horror writer, and so I had taken the scene where he's with Mary Kelly in her room just before he's about to remove parts of her body. And just, I wanted his opinion because I don't normally write it. And I'm like, does this work? Or is it like,
right.
Or is this just like, I should just, rip it up and start over again? And he quite liked it. And the one thing he said to me was, because at the end, I have him, actually, I was going to have him caught on Tower Bridge between bobbies at either end. But then I did a bit more research and found out that Tower Bridge wasn't built then. It was still under construction.
Oh.
So I was like, crap, I can't do that.
Oh, no, there goes my story.
I know. I was like, so I had to change it, and I ended up actually having him step off the unfinished span.
Nice.
And his mother's he actually goes to his mother's ghost, who is there. And that's where the title comes from, because she can't offer him, she says, like, I can't offer you absolution. So that's kind of where the title came from. But originally when I wrote it, I had him, his mother, blah, 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 and she disappears. And he looks up and sees the light or whatever, and he's going to start climbing to heaven, or wherever he's going up. And Michael Slade said to me, you can't have him be a crazy man and then redeem him right at the end. He has to stay a psychopath. Like, he can't. So I was like, okay, because I hadn't thought of it in that way. I was just trying to, I knew the image I wanted, but I hadn't thought it through, obviously. So when I rewrote it, and I have him thinking as he is, getting ready to ascend, how the Lord will welcome him and thank him for carrying out his deeds, because that's how his father kind of goaded him into doing all this, because you're doing the Lord's work. You're
right,
doing the Lord's
cleansing.
The Lord
women.
To cleanse them with their blood and release the sins through their blood and all this stuff. So
he was doing good.
Yeah, and that's
the Lord's work.
And that's kind of where, like, the character truly believed that that's what he was doing. And so I changed it at the end, and I think it worked a lot better. But I would never have thought of that if Slade hadn't pointed that out. So it was it's really handy to get feedback from other authors who are good at that genre.
Right, they know their genre, and they're out there, they're doing it. So that was very smart to go in and say, hey, here I am, there he is.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit of mentoring from some of the greats.
Oh, for sure. Surrey is an awesome conference for that. Like, there's a lot of big names that go to it, and they're all willing to sit down with anybody and just talk about what you're working on or whatever, and everybody's so friendly at that conference. It's just amazing.
That's excellent.
Surrey International Writers Conference.
And that takes place up in Canada?
Yeah, every October in Surrey, BC.
All right. So West Coast, British Columbia.
Yes, West Coast. Yeah. Yeah, right on the water pretty much.
Oh, so it looks great too when everyone's there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's warm. It's warmer than it is in Alberta, trust me.
Excellent. So earlier when we were talking, you mentioned that your author name is Nancy M. Bell, and that you had a fun story, and I said, let's hold that for the interview so that everyone can hear this great story. So what is the story behind using the letter M for your name?
Creepy funny.
Your creepy fun story, yes. Interesting. How's that?
Yeah. I had not published anything yet. I've been published in magazines, but no, I hadn't published a novel. I wasn't. And I did have a contract, though, for the first Laurel book, but it wasn't published yet. It was still in edit. And I got this email because, once you get a contract, or when you're thinking about trying to get contracted, you have to have a platform. And, you need your Facebook page, and you need your blog, and
it's a whole new world.
So I had started all that. So I was getting my name out there. And I got this email from this lady, and she was just ripping me a new one about the language I had used in my book, and this and that, and how could I do this? And I'm like,
my book's not out yet.
well, and today there's nothing like that in Laurel at all. Like an 8-year-old could read it, and there's nothing that would
safe.
Be out of place. So I emailed her back very nicely and said, I'm really sorry, but...
What are you talking about?
But that's not me. Well, because before I emailed her back, I went to Amazon, and I typed in Nancy Bell, and all these books came up. So obviously there's another author out there with my name, right?
Aha, yes.
I emailed this woman back very nicely and said, I'm really sorry, but you have the wrong person. These aren't my books. I'm not published yet. And, explained. So she emailed me back, and she said, I don't believe you. You're wrong. Quit lying to me, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, then. All right, then. So I never emailed her back. I ignored her.
Crazy readers.
So when I did publish, I put my middle initial in there because if someone Googles, I want them to find me and not her.
Exactly. You want them to, you can differentiate yourself from this other author that apparently made someone very upset.
Wow, well, she made that lady really upset. But it was just it's funny, but it was creepy funny.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy funny, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah, well, it would be funny if she had just said, oh, well, I'm sorry. But no, she, insisted that it was me. And
no, you're lying to me. You should apologize.
Basically, and I was like, yeah, okay, you're crazy.
Don't read my Jack the Ripper novel, please. Don't.
Yeah, well, it's actually, I wrote it under N.M. Bell.
Okay.
Because I didn't want, if there was school kids or something looking for the Laurel books.
Right, you don't want them to pick up going, look, another Nancy M. Bell book, and
Yeah, so I wanted it differentiated just because. It's still on my webpage and everything, but if you Google Nancy M. Bell on Amazon, it doesn't come up.
It comes up I noticed that when I was looking through.
Yeah, which is what I wanted it. That's why I did it that way, because I didn't want, some 10-year-old kid to. Although when you see some of what they read, but.
Yeah, it's tame compared to some of the stuff they have.
Yeah, yes, compared to some of it, but I just as soon not encourage that.
You don't want to be participatory.
No, I don't.
Excellent.
So that's kind of my spooky, weird story.
Oh, so fun. So that pretty much handles all the questions that I had for you. So before we shut down and close down the interview, is there anything else that you would like the people that are watching this, or potential readers of real Nancy M. Bell novels, what you would like them to know?
I hope they enjoy the stories, and I try to make them as real as possible and make my characters have real life issues and real life sort of resolution to those problems. So that everything isn't everything's all fine now, like the Harlequin romance at the end,
Right.
They kiss and everything's fine, and that's not really real life in a lot of cases. The Christmas romance, the Christmas novella is actually quite funny because I wrote it from Mary, the matchmaker's point of view.
Ooh.
So this is her Christmas Eve bash, and everybody in town comes to the Christmas Eve bash.
So that she can fix them all up.
And she's just matchmaking like crazy. And so it's all kind of, and there's a few, there's about 3 surprise announcements made at this Christmas Eve bash by different couples, and she isn't in the know on a couple of them. So that's kind of, she's like, and
she wants to know everything about everybody.
Yeah. She's got her finger in everybody's pie, and she's quite amusing. On the cover where they have there's actually 5 novellas that Books We Love has released as part of this Christmas series. So the covers are all the same. They're the Christmas tree and the window frame, and then the background behind the window frame is different. So the woman looking out through the window frame is Mary,
Oh, okay.
She's like just waiting for everybody to come so she can start stirring and poking and giving true love a nudge. But
Because
it's
without
quite
her, there'd be nobody together.
nobody at all, nobody. So it's quite funny. So and it's amusing. It's very lighthearted and amusing, and then it just takes place on like in a very short span of time. It's just Christmas Eve day, Christmas Eve, and they walk to midnight service and walk back in the snow, and all family and friends are together, and it's just kind of Christmassy, heartwarming.
Nice, but with a lot of fun stuff
Yeah,
going on.
I hope people will buy it and enjoy it.
Excellent.
So yeah,
All right, and on that note, with the links, if you're watching this video embedded in a website, just click the little button. It's over there, actually, that says "Watch on YouTube." And I have down below in the description, I have the Nancy's books on Amazon, so I have the link for that. I also have her website, her Facebook, her Twitter, her Goodreads, and her blog. So you can connect with Nancy in all these different ways and find out when all her books are coming out, the books that are out, and any new stuff that's coming out. So thank you very, very much, Nancy, for coming on ODNT and letting us shine the spotlight on you.
oh, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Of
I
course.
always love to talk about books.
Oh, I know. I could do it all day long.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right,
It's
so
fun.
don't hang up just yet. I will come back to you. We'll
Okay.
chat for a couple more minutes, but I'll just go ahead and close this down here. So hey,
Alrighty.
so that's No Absolution. That one there, that is the Jack the Ripper story. And then we talked a little bit about this is the prequel series for her Cornwall Adventures series, so Adele's Secret. And then, of course, we have her young adult quest adventure, which all that stuff she talked about just happened in the first book right here, Laurel's Quest. Oh my goodness, we didn't even get into what was going on in the next two books. It sounds like a very, very exciting adventure. And then her contemporary romance, and we can see the Mary herself peeking out the window there, waiting for everybody to come to her wonderful dinner so that she can match them and hook them all up. So once again, that was Nancy M. Bell, a wonderful author. And again, I am Steve DeWinter for ODNT Spotlight. Hey, thank you very much. Don't forget to join the ODN team and subscribe to this channel. We have many more authors, artists, actors, musicians, all coming on the show where we shine the spotlight on them. Thank you very much. Have yourself a great day. Bye.